Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hey CTO Portugal. Today, we are going to talk with Luís Franqueira and Bruno Teixeira, also known as Bruno Cacho, but that I'll leave it for later. And this episode, we'll talk about Agile. We definitely saw a community that had a huge impact in Portugal in the world of agility, and that community was Agile Connect. It was a community that I actually also had the pleasure to ignite and to contribute. But Bruno was pretty much one of the first having kind of this crazy idea of bringing an European event to Portugal. Very soon, Luís Franqueira joined, and the event was a huge success. It happened in Porto, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And after that, when everyone thought that okay, this is it, communities started to appear in Porto, in Lisbon, in Braga, Aveiro. And I think that even Algarve was going to Coimbra, and I think that even Algarve was being considered. Although then COVID appeared, and now we know how communities struggle because of that. Just a small disclaimer before I will ask both of you to introduce yourselves is that I really had the pleasure to work with both of these two gentlemen back in 2013 at Farfetch. I was just arriving from London. We kind of met the first time. We just clicked. I think that we had definitely a lot in common, and that's pretty much, like the things that I definitely hold dear in my heart. With all of that being said, Bruno and Luís, who would like to go first? Quick intro, and let's keep the show going.
I don't know, Luís. Old man's first or the young man's first?
Yeah, old man's first. Let's not keep the old people waiting.
Okay, from the top of my 15 years more in the industry. Hello, everybody. My name is Bruno. I'm a huge passionate about agility, and talking a little bit about me and my professional journey. I always see myself as two mode guys, like before Agile and after Agile. For this, I found myself into the world of Agile in Farfetch. As Pedro was saying, was a great experience, and it was like 15 years ago, 12 years ago, more or less, and my life just completely changed from that point on. So I found the agility there. And then we went into a discovery process, and then we went into a more deep trying to understand agility, and then and that's where the community appears. Then try to go and share our knowledge or what we were learning to the other guys. And after that, we are here. I'm Agile coach right now at Talkdesk, and this is it. I think we're gonna have a great chat with our friends here, and
for sure.
I thank you guys for inviting me.
For sure, my pleasure.
I should have gone first. I don't think I can beat.
Don't mess with the old guys,
man. So my name is Luís Franqueira. I'm people passionate. First and foremost, I guess that. As Bruno, my first contact with Agile was actually in Farfetch, but also it was the first time that I truly realized that I love working with people. And my superpower is to help people become their best version and help companies solve big problems. And yeah, this is what I love to do while building software in this case. And and now I'm an engineering manager in N26 in Barcelona.
In sunny Barcelona.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Super jealous here. Anyway, let's move on.
Now it's a pleasure for me to get to know you both because I didn't know you yet. So
oh yeah, indeed.
Now I know a bit about the story. But since we are talking about the Agile Connect, I wonder if you could tell us what was the main drive to give that first step, so to start creating that community, and what the community represents. I don't know.
How do you see it, right? Regardless of being more or less active right now. How kind of it started? Like, what was the idea? I think that Luis, you could also say like, why did you join? And kind of, and I think that
Yeah.
we can frame it like that.
Maybe I can start with here, Luis. So the Agile Connect community was started by mainly two guys, me and Nuno, and we brought together, how we say, the first team, and we had the pleasure to invite Pedro and Luis to that team, among others, Mike and the other Pedro.
Yeah, the other Pedro.
The other Pedro.
Exactly.
So we were the big executors of the community. So, but the main idea when we started, me and Nuno, was we were talking a lot about agility, and there were two drives basically. One more in the need. So we needed to gain traction to these events that we're gonna try to organize at the end of the year. We were going to talk a little bit more about that later, but the other one is, and I really enjoy talking about this one, is a little bit more emotional one. So because at that time we were talking about agility, the consequences on the organizations, what this agility or agile movement is all about. Is this only process? Is this person? What? Well, you name it. So these kind of questions we were popping on in our minds, and we are talking to each other a lot to try to figure out in our perspective what this movie was all about. So, but at the end, at some point, not at the end, but at some point, we thought, we are kind of talking with each other, but we miss talking with a broader spectrum of people. Maybe people think differently. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see how it goes. So we kind of grab both the need of gaining traction to the event, to the need to share and to have a space where we can really, truly, without the organizations, and this is a very important point because it's from the start, without the pressure of delivering and the pressure of having things done and this kind of pressure that it's natural on the organizations, but just think agility in a very, help me here with the word, in a very
fluid way, like kind of
organic.
Thank you. Organic, fluid. Yeah. So it's like a very natural conversation that we are feeling that it was missing on the organizational level, enterprise level. Okay. So, and this was the main thought. I remember the first conversation we had with some guys, because at that point there was one or two communities, I think Lean Coffee community, but they were trying to go into the organizations, and so we think a little bit about that, and we didn't want that. We really wanted a home, a place where we can feel the agility was the center of the
and I guess
the discussions.
And I guess the main point was something that was free from the obligation of delivering something to the companies or to the organizations. It was we want this, we want to spawn this and see where it goes and let it go. And by the way, my reason for joining was not related to this, was purely personal, let's say. I loved, and Bruno knows, and he was one of my early stage mentors of Agile, and he taught me a lot, and thank you for that. And I know most of the things that I have now as a perception of Agile came from you and from what the endless conversations we had, smoking endless cigarettes outside of Portugal.
I quit smoking, man.
Yeah, I remember that. And but for me, it was about the people and the possibility of meeting different people from different worlds, and the freedom of bringing like information from world outside of tech. And there are cases that I remember, for instance, Angela, that she was working in a company that built lamp or light stuff,
Yeah.
And she was talking about agility and how she was introducing that to the company. And this for me was like the most interesting part of it, is like I'm able to obtain all this knowledge. For me, it's amazing, and see the people interactions. It was great, and also the knowledge of agile, of course.
But let me finish, or allow me to finish with. I think it's very important. One or two situations here for you guys to understand. Well, I guess the path that Agile Connect went through. Well, what I just said is theoretical words, so it's like I don't know, an intention, right? But then this is a very important part. There were some actions in my perspective, seeing this in the long many years afterwards today. For instance, I really remember the decision about having one single place and not going through all the you see. So this
Going through the companies, right? Like
it's going through the
it was
companies.
kind of an agnostic place to host.
Exactly, it
I
was the
remember.
home of agility. And I talk with people, and when they went there, they said, "Well, we know the place. It's the same hour, the same day, the same place, but we feel like home." So it's like we kind of. This was a conscious decision. We didn't understand how big impact was going to have. I see that it was great because people felt home. People felt that they knew where they are going. They weren't going to a strange place and finding new things. No, no, no. They went to a place that's there. They know the culture of the people there. They know the place. Everything was known. It was like a second home.
And
Okay.
let me add, Bruno, that I think that probably what drove so many people at the very beginning was that everyone knew that we were not selling anything to them.
Yes.
Right?
And
Like
that's the second part. Yeah. That's perfect, Porto. That's let me add on that. That was my second thought.
perfect segue.
Thank you. Because really, I remember do you guys remember when we were getting ready for the meetings? We didn't think about the message. We were always thinking about the people, about the flow on the room, about
Exactly.
so I
So
think
funny.
that people just felt that. So we were thinking about them.
Yeah.
We didn't care about the message itself. Of course we care. It's not that the point, but the way we prepared that was the people in mind, how they're going to flow within the room. It's going to be dynamic or not. It's going to challenge face to face or not. I remember one of the sessions were, let's challenge separating groups and then challenge with the context or something like that. So it's like these were great dynamics. They were thoughtful for the guys that went there, and this contributed to the feeling at home. And this is very important because I'm going to be brutal honest. I thought we were going to make like, I don't know, 5 sessions. I didn't,
No.
we didn't expect at all to have the dimension that it had afterwards. But I think these 2 points are so important on what came afterwards, I guess. Okay. I don't know if you guys agree, but
Yeah, no, I totally agree. To be honest, and looking back, it seemed like a lifetime ago.
It's been almost 10 years, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
like
or
I still had some hair.
no, the thing is that since then I've been in so many different places. I've changed countries. Like so many different things changed to me. But now that I look back and I really think about it, it was really meaningful that there was no attachment
Yeah.
to anything specifically other than how are we going to deliver the message so that people listen and really understand what we are trying to communicate. And this was absolutely magic. Absolutely magic.
I agree.
Yeah, it's very important because that focus is the whole thing. This is the whole magic, the
So
whole
it's the main
secret.
purpose,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
and
so
and
tell me
and, and to note, sorry to interrupt, that
Sure.
there was a
Go ahead.
time in this time there was no strong LinkedIn like it is today. Like I think
Ah,
social
indeed.
media was
Indeed.
still ongoing, and this was something that we would build in Meetup or something like that. And then it was a word of mouth. It was maybe a word of mouth, asking to people, come with us, experiment, come to one session, let's see. And a lot of people gathering around, let's deliver this message. This was truly magical, to say the least.
So interesting. And so tell me one thing. And we are kind of already like kind of touching on this. So both of you looking back and knowing that obviously we just said, like, Bruno had more hair. Luís Franqueira was still in Portugal. I didn't have, this prophet's beard. It's been almost 10 years, right? It's been almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So we all moved on, and it's part of life. And I think that the story even becomes more powerful because things lived beyond us. Now looking back, what was like the highlight for you? Like, was there like any specific moment that definitely marked the entire experience? We've been talking about how important it was and the drives and, and how it was agnostic, not selling anything for the people. Do we have some sort of kind of very specific episode that definitely, meant the entire experience for you? Could we do that?
Well, personally for me, this is a very personal one, okay?
Oh, of course.
And it's related to you guys. So one thing is to talk and, how do you say, state intentions between a friend. And that's what me and Nuno did. So we were talking and doing intentions. But when we grab people and we try to grab a team, and we open basically our souls, our hearts in terms of the values that we want on the meetings, on the sessions, and so when you guys came on board, that's where I felt we're gonna do it. So, but this is very personal because, we are nothing without a good team, guys. You know this, right? So this is for me the stepping stone. So intentions are good. But then when you grab a team that is focused and believe what you believe, then I think the magic starts there, and with all the other stuff but it's for me our first meetings with all together. That's what I saw. We can do this.
Yeah. For me, I would say that I have two highlight points. One that I treasured since the beginning. And one that, looking back now, I think it's completely crazy that we did it. The first one is that the connection with you, with everyone, like how we made fun of Rafael for him being a submarine, calling him a submarine.
Not yellow submarine, but
not yellow submarine.
Not the yellow one. No.
Yeah,
that's a big
all the connections, like all these interactions that we had, all the meetings, the preparation, like how things were coming organically. Like, I think we had something so amazing that for me, I always treasure that. And I always look at that in the past as something that brought me immense amounts of value and connection with all of you. The second one is we were crazy enough to organize a regional Scrum gathering in Porto, and we did it. And and for me, this is like looking back, like we actually did this. Like this is not something that at the beginning when we start talking about, it's like, I'm very in my head. I'm very skeptical. It's like, are we really 400 people? Are we capable of doing this? And now that I look back, it's like, this is completely crazy doing something like this. And for me, these are the two main highlights of that.
I'm with a face smiling. You know why? I think I didn't tell you these guys, but at the initial, so this is a big only
revelation.
Exactly, for the for the podcast. So we start talking with Scrum Alliance for a global Scrum gathering. So that's how crazy we are.
Yeah. Well, think
exactly.
Okay. So
that made sense, Bruno. That I think that pretty much describes very well, the sort of mindset there was. We believed that everything could be possible, and look, and just the fact that they said, okay, sure, let's do a regional. You look credible enough. I was like, what?
Can you imagine the Americans saying, "Who are these guys?"
Yeah,
no, it's nuts. It was nuts.
Yeah, no, it's but we did it. It's true, and to tell you, I don't think I ever comment this with anyone. I remember that in this specific date, we were organizing this event. I took an Airbnb next to Philp in Porto, so I could be close to the site. And I remember I was with Rafael in the facilities. We were organizing stuff, talking what we need to do and everything. And Rafael said, "Oh, I'm going home." Like he was going to do like 100 and something kilometers back to his home. I was like, "Are you crazy, man? I have an Airbnb. Come and you will take a nap, you take a shower or something." And he came and he fell asleep on the sofa, like clothes on, with the shoes, half on the sofa, half on the floor. Like this was like, this is like, as like, and looking back, it's like we were really crazy, man. Really crazy.
Yeah, but
This was
you know, just by hearing you talking, I can tell that you are really passionate for what you do, and I think that only demonstrates the success that you had, and what you have accomplished only proves that the passion, when someone is passionate for what they do, they can really accomplish incredible things. And
That's
it's
for
yeah,
sure.
it feels good to listen to this whole story that you were telling that almost 10 years ago. And
indeed.
since then, you probably have been watching the progress of the Agile movement in Portugal. I wonder, maybe Bruno could tell us how has this movement evolved in Portugal, and then Luis can complement by saying what was the difference in Barcelona that you saw after moving there.
About agility as a whole?
Yeah, I would say so, right? Like, remember, so back 2013, right? Like, we were at Farfetch,
Yeah.
plain Scrum, all teams had the same story points, remember those sort of things, right? And look, fast forward 2023, right? Like, things change, right? And so definitely would love to understand a little bit kind of if you're disappointed in the way that it evolved, if you are still excited, if you think things should have been different. And then Luís Franqueira can also, give some opinions how different it could be in Barcelona.
I can start. So yeah, for sure, it's a lot different. So I guess the main difference is, I'm not sure if this is the right phrasing of it, but I feel it like agility at some point started to go
mainstream. Yeah.
and it got different. So let me just try to put some idea here how I see agility. So I see agility with a lot of dimensions. Okay, so today I see agility with the connection of all these dimensions. I'm not going into the dimensions, but the finding this sweet spot is how we take the best of agility. That's my main idea in a very quick way to explain. And what I'm explaining this is because I think the great difference between then and now is that one dimension is taking place mostly. So the how do you say, the automation, so the process dimension, the way that we take the product from an idea to a very specific to a deliver. So the delivery part, the automation of the process, the getting let's call it the lean attitude of taking waste out of the process and just grabbing velocity or grabbing speed of the delivery. So this is right now what's going on. So, but in my perspective, and this is a very personal perspective, we are kind of losing all the other dimensions. And that's something that
well said.
kind of worries me because again, as in life, agility is about balance of these all dimensions, right? So should I say I would take it differently? Well, no, because I'm a true believer of things evolve by themselves. How that's what Agile Connect did. I didn't expect to go to where it goes. So I didn't expect agility to go where it goes, but it is what it is, right? So we as agilities, we have to try to build upon our reality and try to bring this balance. So, but from those years to now, I think in those years we were discovering a lot, and today we are, I think, in the execution part of this dimension. So this is more or less how I see the industry right now. So we are always keeping being requests to streamline the process, to get it quicker. It's more or less the challenges that we have today in a mainstream agility.
Yeah,
this way.
I think that what people are waiting, and to be honest, I agree with what Bruno just said. I see it very much like that. In Spain is the same, so there is no big difference there. And to be honest, what I see a lot is companies, they just try to focus on the process. How can we deliver? How can we take this amazing idea that makes total sense in words and put it in a process that it's streamlined, that like I just want to output stuff and deliver value and get money. This is what I see, and this is the conversation that I see. And not only this, but also to complement, like a lot of focus on structures of people, like how can we structure the company, how many managers, how many this or many that, and they are not even focused on the principle of agility. Because for me, agility, more than many dimensions, I see it as a mindset, as a way of being in a world of companies. It's like a way of thinking, a way of acting in a certain direction or in a certain way. And I don't see this. And to give you an example, like a couple months back, I went to an interview, and they asked me like, and it was for an engineering manager position, and they asked me like, how do you make a team predictable? And I explained them an entire process on, you need to work in these dimensions of people, of tools, and they said, no, but we don't care about that. We just want to understand what tools would you use. And I said, but I can use any tool that you want, like this. And so that you understand, yeah, exactly. So that you understand that people are very attached to process, to tools, and it has nothing to do with this, and it's everything to do in how are we going to all be aligned in the same vision towards the same objective. Simplifying very, very well in a sentence.
No, for sure.
And can I
finish your thought, Bruno, because I have a segue.
Yeah. So I will try to be very quickly, but because we along the years, when we talk about the culture and the mindset, and we sometimes we fail to say the consequences of not having that. Because
maybe.
Yeah, and I would like to state that, or try to state that, so the people we are listening to, they are listening to us, understands that when we talk about this, it's not a theoretical proposition. Is you must see that the value that you deliver at the end of the day, or you must try to understand that this value can be achieved in. I'm going to simplify and put in two ways. We know what we want, and we go fast there to deliver that, or we build an amazing team and we allow them to create new value that you don't even understand that exists. And this is the really powerful thing that we lose when we think only about the process, because we are not allowing engineering or the whole organization to seek opportunities of value that we didn't think. Because I do believe that CEOs and directors and VPs and whatever, they really have a very, very powerful idea of what they want to achieve with the company, right? But are 10 minds greater than 1,000 minds? And this is what we lose if we only focus on the processes, right?
Yeah.
So I hope I could explain what we're trying to, what we can lose. I'm not sure if everybody or if every time we're gonna gain this, but we have to at least give a shot, or the opportunity to put 1,000 minds together to give value that we didn't think that were there. This is what we lose.
You lose everything, to be honest. You risk to lose everything, because you lose time, because you are not working in agility sometimes, and you are like later in the process understanding that you should have thought in something that maybe if you open this up to a discussion, a broader discussion, someone else could have come with this problem, or like, for sure. I think you lose money, you lose time, you lose people, good people, and yeah, so you risk to lose it all.
For sure. This is a perfect segue for something that I was thinking while we were talking. That is, I'm loving that I think we've mentioned more times agility than agile.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a consequence of, I think that from the journey that we took, that, and this is pretty much the question that I want to make, to both of you is, have we seen, agile becoming kind of, this buzzword that everyone was like, oh, we want agile, right? Like if it would be something that you just grab out of a shelf in a supermarket, right? Like I just want to buy a box of this, right? And so do we see agile as some sort of kind of a buzzword? Like it's like now agile is all over the place. And have we even seen that now there is some sort of negative connotation around that word that was, kind of, I don't know if it was carved back in 2000 when, those folks signed the manifesto, but definitely became extremely more popular. Let's call it that way, at least in our industry, when that paper was signed. Because I think that we still see today some companies actually focusing in agile and some companies moving on and focusing on agility. So I would love your take about kind of what's about the word agile. Are we kind of seeing that it's being misused or mistreated? What's the difference between agile and agility? Are we kind of focusing on the right thing or not?
Well, I can only answer personally, but I'm going to tell you a story when I changed agile for agility. It's a very quick one. I was in a Sunday in a family lunch, sunny day. We were talking about blah, 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 and we're seeing the news on the television. And then I see the prime minister saying, we need to be more agile. At that point, my friends,
You're like, I'm done. I need something new.
with agile. I'm done with the agile coach. I'm the agility guy. Well,
Sure.
this is a funny story, but it's
Yeah.
a true story. And honestly, I think, how do you say, agility brings us into this, what Franqueira was saying a few minutes ago, into this being, okay? Being, or how do you say, it transports us, our minds, into a world that's more easily connected with the act of doing agility in a flow. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it could be philosophical. The question is, and I think Pedro was right on point. Agile, it's a buzzword right now for me. That's very clear. So everything is used by agile. They don't care if they have fixed scope or whatever, or it's agile, and that's it. So
Yeah.
I think it's one of the bad things that happen with not getting too deep on this, but I think when we go into the main street, we bring a lot of people back into this world of agility, and people in this process. I think most of the people. I'm not sure if it was because there was lack of persons like us that have a more in-depth understanding of agility, theoretically and in practical terms. That's very important, the practical parts. But in people that were brought together, like project managers of the normal way of planning stuff, etc. So when they brought to this world, I think this process was not they trying to understand a very different concept, but they were trying to adapt their own way of working into these new words. So, and we constantly see sprints being used not as a improvement cycle, but as a very clear another step in the plan. You see, if that's a very practical example of how in this process of getting into the mainstream, you see what I mean? And a very simple concept of an improvement cycle of the sprint is very important to get improvements on the product and improvements on the team. And this was transformed by these people that has this plan, so they in small steps. This is a very practical example of the process that I think It's not the most perfect process, and has a lot of improvement there. But this is where this transformation process of bringing to the mainstream, I think agile, the word agile, get a buzzword. So
yeah,
you see, so
I would.
it's not transforming. So people are coming in, they are not transforming, they are just adapting the whole concept to the new ones, and in my opinion, it's not good.
Yeah, yeah, I would go the extra mile here and say, like, looking from the point of view, from the viewpoint, I was gonna say something Portuguese-ish.
Go. Love
No,
it.
I was gonna say point of vista.
Ah!
There's
Great mix.
Portuguese and Spanish and English.
Yeah.
No, but what I want to say is, like, from the viewpoint of people that are on top of companies, they say, okay, agile is a buzzword. It's it looks like a contortionist process, but it works better than waterfall, so let's use it. But it doesn't stop being a buzzword. And while Bruno was talking, I remember a ton of things that I can say, but I will stay in two. The first one is, again, looking at companies and how they work. And I remember, like, when I was, before I came to Barcelona, I was applying to different companies because I really wanted to get out of Portugal. And I remember that in one application for a different company, they asked, like, what do you think? This was an engineering manager position. Like, what do you think of the Spotify model, and how would you implement it? And my action was like, okay, I'm gonna close this application, because clearly these guys don't understand what agile is and how it works, because I don't want to work here. And to say this, and this keeps me very proud. I still hold as the best agile team that I ever worked, the payments team. Sorry, the payments team in Farfetch. And I remember that exactly that was the objective of delivering value, getting feedback, improving how we were working. I remember that the technical requirements were done in a whiteboard. Me, Moisés, and Fernando, we were like, okay, Tiago Fernandes or Joana Fernandes would come and say, we need something like this. Okay, let us see. Okay, we can do this. This is amazing. Let's try this. I remember that the risk management service that was approving orders in Farfetch came out of a conversation between the three of us. Yeah. And as I said, yeah, but we can build like a microservice that can approve some orders, and we can iterate and add more rules on it. And like, for me, this is the perfect example of agile and agility. Is like, we went to our stakeholders and said, I know that you are struggling with this. You came with us with a problem, and we have a solution that will help you. And I remember that they said, oh my God, I have like 1 hour of work less per day approving orders that I already know. These customers are like super known. They already know them. And these orders were being approved automatically. So, and this came out of a coffee conversation. And for me, this is the perfect example of what agile is and what companies are not practicing at all these days. Yeah. There's so many silos, so many tools, so many, let's do the Spotify model, so many, let's do the whatever model, let's do this, and why this is better than that. And they don't focus on what really matters, like, let's let the engineers solve the problems.
It's interesting, Luis, that you gave an example. I every now and then when I'm telling my stories as well, because as you get older, you just tell stories. Yeah. I remember before joining Farfetch, I worked at Sky in London. And the best team that I saw, from an agility standpoint, was the Sky.com team. It was not even my team. And they had a whiteboard. All the requirements would fit on a card to be written. No Jiras allowed. No Confluence allowed. Each card would be a conversation between the business analyst and the team. There would be, no story points, no nothing. And so every week they would, okay, what we want to accomplish, we think like we can implement these cards. Every time we're picking up a card, we ask the business analyst exactly what we are thinking, more on details and so on and so forth. And look, the product was amazing. The Sky.com product was fantastic, from the website perspective. And again, no tools, no nothing. It was just, just people having, good collaboration and moving the needle.
Yeah. And guys, that's exactly what I was saying about what companies are missing. These two examples are the perfect examples of what I was trying to say before. I'm not saying that we don't streamline the process. Of course, we're going to streamline the process. Come on, we are engineers.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, so that's not even a question. But don't focus on that. There's two perfect stories here that says exactly what we are missing.
Yep.
Yeah. I wonder if the last years that we have with all the movement of working remote that end up by also spreading people, right? And breaking a bit on that relationship part that is also important for collaboration and having more talks. Could that have impact these forgetting the agile in the companies and focus more in the process, which they can actually see more easily? I don't know. I just wonder about
control.
That. I think that in my opinion, it really depends on the company. To be honest, I'm more and more a fan of asynchronous work. I'm trying to have or go towards the least amount of meetings that I can have, and leave space and actually book meetings with my engineers and let them interact, bring them problems and say, okay, how can we solve this? Let's solve this and let's go with the best solution. And I trust them that they will deliver. And I think this is kind of the way forward. I'm not 100% sure, but this is kind of the way forward. There's no need for control. There's no need for meetings of 1 hour talking about stuff that doesn't really matter. It's just give them space to do what they do best. They love pairing. They love knowing. They love absorbing knowledge. Yeah. They love being lazy in a good way. They hate manual stuff and they hate repetitive manual stuff. And if we give them enough space, they will solve the problems. We just need to come to them. Look, this is the problem. This is the business perspective. How can we mix these two things together? So I think answering to what you're saying, it really depends on the company. It really depends on the mindset of the company, and the mindset of the people that are leading the teams, essentially.
Exactly.
I kind of agree what Luis was saying, and it really depends on the company. Well, but my concern, I guess, it's a little bit. I sense a little bit of concern when Sarah asked that. Is
some disturbance in the force?
A little bit, only a little bit. But if that is true, Sarah, I'm with you, because what I see is it really depends on the company. If Luis is right, but what I see is that most of the companies are changing their ways of I don't want to use the word control, but to understand what their employees are doing, visibility, and this kind of stuff, and they are using then the processes, and they are using a little bit more on metrics. I would say I will dare to say not the right metrics, because they are only looking at the time of accomplish and the lead time and the cycle times and this kind of stuff. I see all of this happening right now. I think COVID kind of intensified that path, I guess. Sure. But it's only a how do you say? Only a personal.
It's a gut feeling based on what you see. I agree.
I guess I see the intensification of metrics. I see the intensification of try to understand, because they are not in the office, so try to understand what people are doing, how much time they do this stuff, and etc. So I see that happen.
I'm more I think that and to just compliment on that, I agree. This is true. People are focused on metrics, on a word that I know you don't like to use, KPIs.
I have a new one for you folks if you want to know later about KPIs and OKRs and stuff. Anyways,
we can discuss that. But what I'm seeing and what I want to say is, you transform yourself and you start looking at things differently, and you start surrounding yourself with transformed things, because it's your new way of being. And so I started looking at different companies, at different people, at different structures, and I see more and more, and this comes to me more and more, is companies that are focused on delivering value to their customers and leave it up to their engineers to do it. And of course, you will always have the other side of the coin. You will always have controlling companies. You will always have people that want to know, because if I don't trust, if I'm alone, I will not work. So my engineers are the same, so I'm going to control them. This is always the mindset. So yeah, it's a question of where you look and what kind of endeavor do you want for you in your life. Do you want to change the world, or do you want just to live a happy life?
Franqueira, you mentioned something that it reminds me again. There you go. A sentence that I've heard that is super interesting. That is, when I was young, I was trying to change the world. Now that I'm old, I focus in changing myself. It fits perfectly everything that you just said. Anyways, sorry, I had to say this because we can move on.
I totally align with that. And if you've seen LinkedIn, you've seen my latest project that I'm moving forward, and it's focused on self-growth.
I saw that exciting stuff.
I'm trying to change myself.
For sure.
I think Bruno
dropped, but he will come back. He was just probably messing around with browser. Anyways, he will return.
Yeah.
So right now we are pretty much at the end of the show. So let's see if Bruno can still show up. At the end of the show, we usually have 2 questions that we do just to end the episode. And pretty much the first one that we are going to ask you, Luís, while Bruno gets back, is, so from your career, do you have no, it's cool, Bruno, no worries. Do you have a favorite quote, something that is kind of works as some sort of North Star for you, that kind of, it's something that an inspiration that you could share? And then obviously we'll ask you the same thing, Bruno, that is, kind of a favorite quote, something that definitely inspires you and that kind of, that you see that had an impact in you. So Luís, would you like to go first?
Yeah. There are 2 expressions whenever I think of this that I take with me, and I will always take them with me. The first one is sometimes we win and sometimes we learn. And I always take this at heart, because I don't focus on what I messed up or where I messed up. I focus on what are my learnings and how can I prevent this from not happening again. And I take this on my everyday, on life or at work, and I really like to do it. And associated with this, because I learned this expression from Nuno Rafael, there is an expression that I used, that I remember I used in Farfetch for the first time. And as soon as I told him this, he cracked laughing. And I always remember these 2 expressions. Like if I remember the one, I will remember the other for sure. And it is the expression micromartelada. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that rings a bell.
Just giving a context for everyone and for Sarah. Like we were using a lot the expression marretada / martelada, that every time we had to do something on the code that was not the best solution possible, and we were doing it often. And I remember that once we were trying to do something, and I said, but this is kind of like a nail or something. So, no, it's like a marretada, but it's not so big. And I said, okay, it's a micro martelada then. And the expression took off. And I remember these are the 2 expressions that I
love it.
Like when you are trying to do something bad, but you want to minimize it. Like, I know I'm going to do this. This is not beautiful, but it's not that bad. Like, okay, it's a micro. Yeah.
So good. So good. Okay, so my quote would be, so there was a very emotional, specific time, and I'm going to explain it so you can all understand. So my journey on Farfetch was 7 years. I found out I transformed myself from the normal engineering into this agility and agile coach, and from that point on, I was all about agility. So it's very, very incredible journey there on Farfetch. So when I left 7 years afterwards, my journey ended. So when I left, I was thinking about a quote to leave in the email of the goodbye email that I was trying to write. And I when I read this quote, it just was written into my soul. So this resumes a little bit my journey in Farfetch, and if you want to extend from that point on into all my agility experience. And the quote is, walk in truth, leave fruits. Oh my God, I'm going to repeat it. So walk in truth, leave footprints of honesty. So if you guys go and listen to what we are going, we always said here, we understand the needs of the market. We all understand what we have to do in a daily basis, but we try to be truthful to ourselves, and that's what we try to do in the agility, and that's what we try to extract with the guys around us. And if you are true to ourselves, and leave these footprints of honesty, at the end, it's what we will get you into a, I don't know, a happy place, in a success place, hopefully, and this drives
and leave a
into
legacy, right? And leave something behind, built, right?
I guess that could be the consequence, but we just try to be true to ourselves, right? So that's at least what I feel in my journey of agility, and I hope I can translate that to you guys, everybody that I talk to. So this is my quote.
Well, now I would like to switch a bit the roles and ask you both to make a question to each other. I don't know if Luís wants to start. Luís, you can ask anything you would like to Bruno, and then
and Bruno will pay back. So
okay, my question to you is purely ergonomic, let's say.
Okay.
Oh God.
If you have almost no hair in your head, why do you keep those small hairs there? I know that you are a guy, you are straightforward, you like to be straightforward and say what you think, but in the end you keep misleading yourself, thinking you still have hair. Come on, man, tell me.
How do we put agility on this? I don't know, like
on the trimmer that you use,
But I'm gonna try to put some agility on this. Well, I guess I am what I am, basically. Okay, so I really don't care about if I'm too old or I just am what I am, and the things that we evolve into, we have to embrace it. That's our best, because you have, in my case, already 47 years of a lot of things done, right? So if those things done grab me into this, I just love them. This is beautiful. So I will not cut them. I will not paint them. I will not. I will just be myself again, like I said, walk in truth to yourself. That's, well, this is get a little bit philosophical, but
it was an awesome answer, actually.
I guess that your question is not easy, so.
No, it was more of making fun.
Yeah, I know.
You came back pretty well on that.
I know.
Bruno, your turn.
So now that you have this fun question, let me give you
Give me 1 minute.
Oh, okay.
Give me a minute.
No, I don't know.
Oh man.
what made you change from? Do you remember when you went to Farfetch?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was really the trigger that put you into the people? Because I remember how you were. Okay.
You were a
So
QA, right? Like you were
yeah, I
testing
work
systems,
QA.
right? Like
Very
what the
Yeah.
hell?
I want to do this and that. So,
Man,
what was the trigger? So because you were guys, everybody is listening to us. Luis, I can assure you guys that he transformed himself
No, of
into
course.
this man.
No, for
So
sure.
it was not like that. So I remember you in
I
the
was
first
not.
time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you
And
were
I
let
not.
was
me
not.
add,
And
So
because I
what was the
remember
trigger?
and remember that
Yeah, yeah.
Luis has an amazing life story. He was a waiter back in the day, and he's
yeah.
a
Exactly,
self-made
exactly.
successful man. So
I don't
Yeah.
wanted to
please,
go
Luis,
there, but yes,
go.
I can give you an overview of the story, but so you have a sense. I always, for some reason, uh, felt a strong connection in working with people and collaborating and being together, and it would excite me. And one thing also that excites me is problems. Like when I see a problem, my main thing is like, how can we all together fix this and solve this? And I get excited. And it's when the hurricane is in its highest point, it's when for me everything stays like standing still and I can see the problem and I can be really, really focused on I'm going to put this bastard down. Um, and I looking back now, I always was like this. And my first job was managing a team of salespeople in a cemetery candle company
I
in the
remember.
lovely city of Barcelos, but all the way back in 2004. This was my first job. And I really understood there, and looking back now, I really understood that I really like to listen to people, to help them, to understand, to be empathic, to ask questions, and help them realize like how to. Today, I heard an expression that made sense to me. Is like, I like to help people understand that they are not as broken as they think.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and essentially, this was it. Since the beginning, I always had this sense going into Farfetch, I found a world in tech with agility, with connections with you, and with other people that gave me information that I didn't have. That I can actually help people grow in a very meaningful way. In a very meaningful way. And how can I do that? And I always had these questions like, I remember I was in Farfetch and like, what do I want to do when I grow up? Like I had this question in my mind, like I was 28 or 29 at the time. Like what I'm a grown up. I should have already known this.
You had no beer
And
at that time.
no beard,
No
Yeah,
beer.
like
no beer.
no beard, no beard, no beard.
No
It
beer.
was bigger, now it's smaller. But
Yeah.
and also asking these questions is what is taking me into this new project that I have as well. But answering to your question is it was the sum of everything. Uh, Going from Farfetch to Mindera, knowing so many different people and so many different realities made me realize that I really want to help people.
Yeah.
This
So
is
you
what I
were
love to do.
the event was you like the sponge. So this continuous sponge that you are,
Yeah,
right?
it's but I think the main event, looking back now, what made me who I am today, it was my grandmother. She was the great or the biggest influence. She is the biggest influence in my life as a person, on a way of being, on a way of treating others, and on a constant seek on how can I improve other people's life and help them realize that I can support them on this, yeah.
Powerful
And
stuff.
There is no like there is no single event
Mhm.
Several.
specifically. Yeah,
that's the flow,
In
my
the
friend.
journey.
Yeah.
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 Fantastic.
Thank you so much. I think, yeah, I love both answers. It really shows a bit more about yourselves. And this was a great talk about agility, the
Agile
whole
Connect,
movement,
for sure.
Agile Connect, yes. So thank you so much for being here with us, sharing all this knowledge.
For sure.
And this is it. So, well, thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you back. So it was a real pleasure to be you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you for inviting me. It was very, very good to be here, reviving old times and
It was awesome. It was awesome.
yeah, and
For sure.
expanding a bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Internet. See ya.